A military source says army repelled an attack by terrorists on Taftanaz airport in Idlib, killing and wounding dozens of attackers. Army units continue to chase terrorists, inflicting on them heavy losses and confiscating their weapons. Al-Qaeda found that the events in Syria would not have happened without the support and finance of certain states. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to our news for today. An official military source has said Taftanaz military airport in Idlib governorate was the target of a terrorist attack this morning, executed by a large number of armed terrorist groups. They were bravely intercepted by the Syrian army heroes, who inflicted on them huge losses, killing or wounding the majority of the attackers. The source said the 2 Syrian soldiers were slightly injured. No one was killed. No losses in equipment were reported. The source added that the attack comes within the framework of the feverish war launched on Syria by its enemies in order to restore the image of our army and undermine the morale of its soldiers. The source added that the cooperation of the inhabitants of the area who notified the army of their positions and their movements has helped foil the attack and enabled the army fighters at the airport to inflict heavy losses on the terrorists. Meanwhile, our armed forces continued to chase fleeing terrorists in Aleppo city and its suburbs. During the operations in Salah ad-Din, Al-Amiriya, Al-Hashkal, and Tel Zarazir neighborhoods, the authorities seized large quantities of weapons and ammunition. An official source and the governorate said the weapons included 2 mortar guns, 3 BKC and several Doshka machine guns, RPG shells, NATO sniping and automatic rifles, ammunition, various kinds of bombs, and stolen medicines and medical equipment. Also in Aleppo, security forces carried out an operation in a Sayyid Ali neighborhood, killing a number of terrorists and destroying their headquarters. An army unit has found a hideout in Ariha, Idlib, which was used by terrorists. Several terrorists were killed and a large number of them were wounded during the operation. The hideout is a 500-meter long tunnel that connects Ariha with Zabur. 200 grenades, weapons, RPG shells, automatic rifles, 30 explosive devices, each weighing 100 kilograms, were seized. The authorities also found a number of printing machines stolen from state establishments, in addition to a number of cars used by terrorists and their aggression against citizens and law enforcement troops. The border troops also dismantled 5 explosive charges planted by armed terrorist groups along Harim, Kafar, Ham axis and Idlib suburbs, each weighing between 30 and 50 kilograms. A group of terrorists have held men and women in Zamalka and slaughtered them in front of their fellow neighbors. According to a source and the governorate, the inhabitants collected the corpses of the victims and put them inside Sheikh Askar Mosque, which they had booby-trapped, and intended to use it as a base from which they planned to launch their mortar shells at the Syrian army to force it to retaliate. Whether the army retaliates or not, they intended to detonate the mosque and accuse the army of shelling it and committing massacre to turn world public opinion against Syria on the eve of the Security Council member states ministerial meeting. The authorities have clashed with an armed terrorist group that perpetrated acts of plundering, kidnapping, and assault against citizens on Aleppo Al-Raqqa Road and killed 2 civilians. All the members of the terrorist group were killed, among whom Salim Ali al-Shibli and Abdul Karim Najm al-Abdullah from Deir Zor were identified. Following close inquiries, authorities in Homs were able to detect and attack a secret hideout for terrorists in Al-Khandaq Street in Bab Hood, killing and wounding a number of them. Army units foiled at dawn today an infiltration attempt by terrorists near the Lebanese borders in Tal-Kalakh suburb. A source in the city told Sana reporter that 4 cars equipped with Doshka machine guns tried to cross the borders, but authorities confronted them and scored direct hits against them. Deputy Minister of Foreign Affairs and Expatriates Dr. Faisal Al-Maqdad asserted that the incidents that are taking place in Syria would not have happened without the foreign intervention by some countries that have financed and harbored the armed terrorist groups and provided them with weapons, in addition to launching a misleading media campaign that twisted facts and justified terrorism. In a statement delivered today during a session held by foreign ministers of non-aligned countries in Tehran under the title Lasting Peace Through Common Global Administration, Mr. Al-Maqdad said that what the U.S. is doing, along with the Western circles and some regional countries, by supporting the armed groups, is aimed at the destruction of the Syrian infrastructure and the killing of the innocent citizens who refused terrorism. Mr. Al-Maqdad pointed out particularly to the support provided by Turkey to Al-Qaeda and other extremist organizations to kill innocent people in Syria. This support was represented by the unlimited opening of the Turkish airports and borders for the terrorists to infiltrate into Syria and carry out schemes that aim at diverting away from the basic conflict in the region, which is the Arab-Israeli conflict.
I think what we have achieved in the final document is very positive. It's very good. And we have full condemnations of the sanctions imposed against Syria by the West and by some other countries. We have a balanced paragraph on the situation in Syria. So this is good support on behalf of the summit for Syria.
For his part, Iranian Foreign Minister Ali Akbar Salehi stressed the necessity of the participation by all Palestinian factions to find a just solution to the Palestinian cause. Salehi said in a speech before the Palestine Committee during the preparatory meetings of the Non-Alliance Summit that the failure to find a solution to the Palestinian question is due to the failure, rather to double standard policy pursued by the West, which tends to ignore the Palestinian legitimate rights. Salehi stressed that Jerusalem will remain the eternal capital of the Palestinians. The Czech ambassador to Syria, Eva Filippi, has said Syria witnesses a media war on a large scale. She referred to the misleading information circulated by some satellite channels, including the Qatari Al Jazeera and the Saudi Al Arabiya. In an interview with the Czech TV, Ambassador Filippi wondered whether both channels present what can still be described as journalism. She referred to both channels' invention and exaggeration of events and added that what is going on in Syria is not a civil war, but a fight between the government and armed men. She said the phrase, the Syrian Free Army, must be put between two brackets, because anyone who carries weapons presents himself as being a member of the so-called Free Army. She added that many of the European ambassadors had left Syria with pain and heart. She pointed out that closing the embassies for political reasons had no impact whatsoever on the Syrian leadership. Israeli occupation authorities deliberately set fire into the forests near Sheikh Mountain, north of occupied Majd al-Shams town. A number of citizens in the occupied Golan expressed anger, stressing that these barbaric practices will not affect their determination to liberate their land. They stressed that the fires have destroyed wide areas of farmland and caused poisonous damage to the environment. Finally, mercenary terrorists flocking into Syria continue killings and committing terrorist acts against the Syrian people. One of those is Muhammad Ali Belhaj Ahmed, from Tunisian nationality, who admitted joining an armed terrorist group along with terrorists from Turkmenistan, Libya, Kuwait, and Saudi Arabia. Terrorist Belhaj Ahmed said he was trained on how to use different types of weapons and went to Egypt, where he met some of Al-Qaeda terrorist organization members. Taras Belhaj, who is a member of the Tunisian Al-Nahda ruling party, spoke of his trip to Istanbul and Antioch in Turkey, as well as his meetings there with some other terrorists of Turkish and Syrian nationalities. Taras Belhaj also narrated how he came from Turkey into Aleppo countryside, where he met with other terrorists, including 3 Tunisians, a Libyan, 2 Kuwaitis, and some from Saudi Arabia and Syria. The terrorist was arrested by the Syrian authorities while he was hiding inside Syria. With this, we end our news bulletin for today. For more information about Syria and the region, and to view our bulletin again, you can visit our website in English, syrianline.sy.